Okay, so imagine you are a hacker and you just got the initial access to a Linux machine through whatever ways. It does not matter how you got the low privilege and initial shell. So the first thing you will do as a hacker is what we covered in the previous video, like checking the user related information, gathering system information, and looking at the running processes. If you want to watch them, just go to the playlist section and click on the Kali Linux playlist and you can find out those videos there. But after that, what you're gonna do is you will be checking the environment variables, and this is the exact video that we will be talking about the environment variable, like what they are and how we can check them. So let's get started. Okay, so you can see on the screen, let's just start understanding the environment variables. So I got this analogy, but this is like a bit difficult for me. It just kind of not making sense for me, so I got this another one which is more easier. Let me just explain the analogy first and then I will connect the analogy with the environment variable. So imagine I open a new company, and what happens is that, and let's say we hired 50 employees. Okay, like each of the employees need to know certain things, like for example the Wi-Fi password and where the HR office is and where the CEO office is, like these information. So instead of you telling each of the employee every single time, like for example they come today, you tell them this is the Wi-Fi password, this is where the CEO office is, and different stuff. Okay, and the next day they come to office again and you need to tell to all of those employees again. So it's like very difficult and just kind of not make sense to tell the same thing again and again. So what we do instead is, let's say we have a notice board, and what we do is that we just write down all of the information. Like for example, let me show you actually. So this is imagine this is a notice, and what we will do is just type like this: Wi-Fi password is equal to 1234. Okay, this is one information, and CEO office XYZ location. So this is what we write in the notice board. So now what happens is that whenever each of the employee come to the office, what they will do is, instead of me telling the same information to them every single time, they will just go to the notice board and just if they need the Wi-Fi password, they will just see the Wi-Fi password, or if they need the office location, they will also see that on the notice board. So you can see right here, everyone can see it and everyone can use it. It's there in the background. So it just means that every employee can come to this notice board and they can just read out the information and they can use that information for whatever purpose they need. So assume this notice board it's somewhere on the wall of the office. Okay, let me drag this like over here and do it like this so we can see this information. So now you can see environment variable are exactly like the notice board. Now this is the company notice board, that analogy we used. Analogy, I will just type the analogy, and this is environment. So now if we compare this analogy with the environment variable, what it means is that environment variable are like, so first of all, what variable is, it just we use it to store data. If you have a little bit of coding knowledge, you will know what the variables is. Like we make a variable and then we store a specific value in that. So for example, let me create some variable over here in the notice board. So this is variable 1 and its value is x, and another variable is 2, its value is y, and the next variable is value is z. Okay, so now what these environment variable are like, similar to the office notice board, everyone can see the notice board and read out and can use the information that is on the notice board. Okay, now if we apply this to the Linux, what happens that, for example, we have this environment variable, a list of information or named pieces of information. So you can see every program that run on the system can read them and they can use it if they need them. So basically environment variable are like, it has a name and a value. So for example, for the home, this is the variable name and this is the variable value. So when in Linux term we are talking about home directory, it just means this slash home slash the username, and this is the another variable, this is the user and this is the user value. Same for these two as well, these are the variable name and these are its values. Okay, so you can see right here, the simplest example we have is when you type ls in terminal, Linux needs to find the ls program somewhere on your disk. but where there are like thousands of folders. So instead of searching the ls program throughout all of these folders or direct, it will take much longer. So instead of this, Linux checks the path variable, which is a list of some folder that it checks the ls program in. So if I go to my Kali Linux and let me just open the terminal, make it big, and if I type the ls, what it means is it need to find out the ls program. It's not like a magically list the content of a specific directory or the current directory. The ls command is defined somewhere, but we don't know where it is, right? We just use the ls and it just lists the content of the directory for us. So I'm just gonna show where this ls command is defined and how it look like. So you can see over here, as you know that ls command just open a folder, read its content, and print the information or the directory or the file name in your terminal. Okay, so it's basically written in C language, and you can see it's the basic version of this. Is like it uses this function which it just open the folder. Like for example, we want to check the content of different directory, it will use this function. And then we have the read directory function. This just help in reading out the content of a specific directory, and then this printf just print out the content or the file name to us. So I don't know if you might know or don't, but this is how the ls command look like in actual. This is the C language, and it's like this much line, just the ls command alone. So we just type the ls, and in the background it does all of this stuff. Okay, so coming back to this, you can see when we type the ls, it just look at the path variable. In the path variable, the Linux just by default fix the path where it should just check out the ls command. So I will just show you the path variable in a bit. And so you can see without the path we will need to type this is where exactly the ls program lives in. Okay, I'm just gonna show this, and with the path we just have the ls. We don't care where it just exists. So I'm gonna go here, and if I type this usr bin and type the ls, so if I type the which and ls, it will, okay, it did not work. Instead I will type the where ls. You can see this is where the ls command lives, or like defined. And so if I type the cat usr bin and ls, this is, you can see where the ls command is explained or like lives in. You can see we got the content of this, but it's like kind of encrypted, I guess, or I think it's just some gibberish stuff. Okay, so if I type the env command, it will just give me a long list of a bunch of variables, like for example the user variable, the home, shell, path, language, and many more. From that we can find out what is the username, what is the home directory, what shell we are using, and also the path variable. You can see this is the path variable. I'm just gonna explain this a bit more in detail and the same language. And if I go down, instead of typing the env and getting a full list of different so many variable, we can just instead type the echo with the $sign and the variable name. Like for example, if I want to just find out the information about the home variable, I will just use the $sign and the variable name, and it will just list the home and slash the username. And if I wanted to find out information about the path, I will just use the path instead of home, and it will list this. And notice the $sign before the name. This tell the Linux give me the value of this specific variable, and without this the Linux thing it just a word. Like if you type the echo home, it will just print the home as it is, and if you type the home with the $sign, it will give you the variable name of the home. So I'm just gonna type the env command again in my Kali Linux, and I will explain one by one what these mean, because we need to understand specifically this one. This will what we will be needing in the future video for one of the exploitation. We just call it path hijacking. So before going to my Kali Linux, in simple term, the environment variable help us to, instead of remembering the full path of the file or a program or a command, we just put that in a variable and store that. And when, like for example, when we later use that, we just type the program name. So I'm just gonna give the realistic and simple example that I also came across with. If I go to this drive, and you can see over here, this is the Python that I installed in this F drive. Now the thing is, this F drive is external hard drive, and if I remove it from my device, it will be disappear. Like, I don't want to remove it right now because the recording is getting saved in this drive. So normally when we install the Python, it just by default get installed in the C drive. So when we use the Python through CMD, it will just find it just know the path already. It just store the path that the Python is installed in this as environment variable. But now since this is installed in external drive, the Python, what happens that without making the variable that a Python program is installed in the C F drive and specifically the Python subfolder, it will just give us error that Python is not installed. We have to make the variable to just use the Python program. So if I open my CMD and type the Python version, okay, it's like this. You can see just give me the Python version. It's because I have added the environment variable that python.exe or Python program exists in this specific directory. Right now I cannot remove the hard drive, but later when I am done with recording, I will just unplug the hard drive and then type the Python and version again. I will attach the screenshot of it on the screen. You will be able to see that it will just give me error because I just don't know where the Python is. So what I am trying to say simply is that the system or the operating system of the device need to know where this program exists, and for that you need to add the environment variable. And sometime in environment variable there are like some sensitive information which we will be covering later specifically for Linux. But in Windows, let me actually show you. If you type the environment, just type the environment and go over here and click on this environment variable, you will be able to see all of the environment. So right now you can see this is user specific variable and these are system variable. This just applied for a specific user and these apply to all of the user on the system. So as I said earlier that sometimes it includes some sensitive information, like for example you can see, so I made some variable. You can see these are agent router token and anthropic authorization token. If someone open the environment variable and see all of the my variable, they will be able to see these credential. So that's why we need to check these also. And you can see for the Python I have added these two variable. Okay, now let me just type the env and let's just study these variable what these are. So this one is our home folder, and when we type the echo and the $sign and the home variable name, it will just give us this path actually. Okay, so the first one we have is the home variable, which the value of that is the our home folder. So let me just open this. So if I type this, it will just give me the my home directory. And when we type this cd and this specific thing, it just means the same thing, the home directory. Okay, and you can see for the shell we have this specific shell, and the login name variable is my login name is this, and the language I selected is this, and the path variable is this one. Okay, this one actually I need to explain it with this example. So when we type the path variable, just see the path. You can see right here these columns. So these columns just separate folder. These are a different folder. So you can see a list of different folder. So the path is actually a list of this folder, this directory, and this directory. Okay, just first check here and then move here and then here and then here, right? So when we type the Python 3, like for example we want to use the Python 3 or the ls command, it will just first of all check over here. If it does not exist here, it will then check here, here, and then here until it finds out, and it run the first one it finds. So for example we have the ls over here and here as well. So what will happen is that when we use the ls, if it find it here, it will just execute instead of, and then it will not even come here and check that. If it finds it, it will be executed, and then it just stop checking these rest of folders. Okay, and then this pwd just mean current working directory, print working directory. Okay, I forgot to mention that we'll be focusing later on this path variable, because we'll be looking if any variable or any program exists in any of these folder. We will then also see if the program run as root or not. Our focus should be to target a program that run as root and in the directory where we can write. So it might not make sense right now, but later when we are doing it will make sense. Okay, now let's just talk about how we can create variable. So like for example, I will make a variable with my name is equal to xyz. This is the variable I make, and if I press enter and then type the echo dollar sign my name, you can see that I printed the value of the variable that I just made. Now this variable is only associated with this specific terminal. If I create a new terminal like this and type the echo dollar sign like this and my name, it won't print anything because it's associated with only this terminal. So like for example, I'm running a specific Python script or doing something that needs some certain variable. So if we do it like this way, the program that we run or this Python script that we run in this shell, it will get access to this variable. But if I run the same script over here, it won't work. Okay, so the problem I was getting is that I was making sure that the variable I make over here just also run in a new terminal. So you can see right here I created the my name variable first with the value xyz, and then I created a new variable class and its value is 4, and I use the export word. Without export, what happens that it does not share the variable with the child processes program that is launched from this terminal. And when we use the export, it just share the variable with the program that I launched from this specific terminal. And to use the variable that I make over here and in a new terminal as well, I will need to make a variable permanent. And to do so, what we will need is there is a file in our home directory where we will be putting the new variable. So this is the file, and let's just put this. So we will be writing this variable in the file that stores the variable, and only after then we will be able to use the variable with different terminal as well. So I'm just gonna type clear, and if I type the ls-la, you will be able to see this is the file that just store the variable. And what I will need to store the new variable is that use the export and my name xyz, again type the xyz and use this double greater than sign. What this does, it will add this variable at the end of this file. Instead of when you use single greater than sign, it will remove anything that exists in this and only write this. So I want to add this at the end of this in this zshrc file. Okay, we added that. And if you want to delete this variable that we just made, we will use the unset command. Let me actually show you. See, we will just type the unset and the variable name, and then when we do the echo and the variable name, it will be gone. This is another example. Let me give you a quick overview of this, and then we will be done with this video. Okay, so this is the backup sh file, and it is present in this folder. We want to just run this script from any directory without adding the path. When we type this, it will just give us that the command not found or the file not found. So we will need to add the folder path this to the path like export, so that we can use the variable or all for all of the processes in the same terminal, and then the path to the path we are adding. So what this does is that the path variable just keep the old value and also add this at the end. After that, when we type the backup sh wants to run this file now from anywhere, it will just since the path of it is in the path variable, it will just execute it. So to summarize, environment variables are basically a notice board that every program on the system can read. They store things like your home directory, your shell, and the path variable, which tells the Linux where to look for commands, like for example the ls. And the path variable is something we'll be coming back to later when we talk about the path hijacking. But the most important thing to remember from this video, sometimes environment variables store sensitive information, like for example password, API keys, credential. that developers just left sitting there. So whenever you get the initial access to a machine, checking the environment variable is not optional. It's one of the first things you do. In the next video, we'll be continuing the enumeration and moving on to the next step. Hope this makes sense. If you don't understand it, let me know in the comments. I will see you in the next video. See you there.